Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Thursday morning. Hope everyone is doing well. So for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kaniaru, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. And I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze their markets, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John. He is here in the back office. He'll be here to assist you on whichever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions on the chat box, and we will end up getting a response. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So hope my screen is visible. So starting off with our watch list. Here, we can see the difference between yesterday and today. So yesterday, our bias was looking for buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as the Australian dollar. And we're looking to mix and match those three pairs with the pairs on the sell side. So you can see that the Swiss franc, the British pound, the yen, the US dollar, as well as the euro. Now, apologies for uninforming you guys from the Telegram channel. I know a number of you guys did not manage to get the message, but we did have some fundamental British pound news that did end up coming out yesterday that did move it to the sell side. So you can see today there's just been a slight change to the pairs that we're focusing on. So we will be looking for buying opportunities. Similar situation yesterday with the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar. However, the British pound and the US dollar have moved to the buy side. And we will be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc, the yen, the euro, as well as the New Zealand dollar. So before we do jump on today's pairs, let's have a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. Before we look at a few screenshots, then we will focus on today's pairs. So starting off with the pairs for review, here we have the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. So let me just delete that. So you can see the three areas we had pointed out. We're hoping to see whether or not the price is actually going to hold above within this area for us to at least see some sign of big boy buyers actually coming in. But you can clearly see that did not happen. The price actually broke this area to the downside. It confirmed that it was holding below. So at that point in time, there was no buying opportunity. Wanted to see what kind of reaction happened within this particular area. Remember, I had also pointed out this level right here. And the price was there at 4 o'clock, which is the US market open, but no sign of big boys did end up coming in. You can see the price did continue going down lower, reaching and holding below within this particular area. Now, this has mainly something to do with the New Zealand dollar pairs. They did not end up showing the strength that we did end up wanting. So the next pair we did have was the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation. Our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. Wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to breach and hold above within this particular support and resistance area at the top. But you can see that's not what happened. As the price attempted to go to the upside, it came back in and was actually holding below. So if I just remove this, you can clearly see the way the price came to the downside was confirming that it was actually holding below. So at that point in time, no buying opportunity. Wanted to see what happened within this particular area. But you can see now no reaction from the buyer. The price did end up coming down quite low, approaching this particular support and resistance area. But the price has not really taken off from there. Remember, we did point out the New Zealand dollar pairs really didn't perform for us. So this pair did follow our watch list. Or at least it's not a pair that we're going to be looking at today. So the next pair we did have was the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now in this pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Remember, we do always point out the market opening times, 11, 4, and 5:30. So initially wanted to see what kind of reaction happened at 11. Not much, where the price did end up attempting to come down, but it seems the big boys were not really that interested at that point in time. Hence, the price did manage to come up within this area, giving us the probe and price action signal within there. Did not necessarily take off at 4, because at 4 is when it started giving us the probe. But it actually ended up taking off at around 5:30, where the price did end up coming to the downside. So unfortunately, it could not get all the way till this problem area. You can see it ended up just coming back towards this buyer's area that the price did end up reacting from before. So unfortunately for us, even though the trade did work out during the US session, this is not a pair that we're going to be focusing on today. Now, the next pair we did have was the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. And you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So you can see at 10 o'clock during the Frankfurt market open, when the fundamentals were coming out, you can see the big push to the upside. And remember, we always point out, do not look for selling opportunities within a bias area. You can see the reaction that did end up happening. But at 11, the price was back within this particular support resistance area during the London market open, and there could have been a selling opportunity there. making sure to manage your trade within this particular area. But you can see later on, the market did end up ranging quite a bit during the US session. Unfortunately, not during the 4 or 5:30. We did not necessarily see any reaction. It seemed like it ended up happening at around 6:30, where the price did break this area to the downside. And you can see once it pulled back and actually held below, you can see there was a potential selling opportunity there. But unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that could potentially give us issues, and that's the reason why it is off our watch list. Now, the next pair we did have was the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. In this kind of pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. We can see the 3 areas we had pointed out. Remember, the price was within this bias area, and you can see the bias did end up reacting during the Frankfurt market open. You can see the price did manage to continue going to the upside. You can see the illustration we wanted to see here. It ended up doing something similar. Unfortunately, we did not get the takeoff when the price was within this particular area at 4. It seems that the big boys weren't interested at that point in time. You can see the price did manage to go up, give us another probe, and it seems that it was coming down during the Asian session. So even though the trade did work out a bit later on during the US session, as well as the Asian session, this is a pair that we're not going to be focusing on today. Now, the next pair we did have was the British pound against the Australian dollar. Remember, our bias here yesterday was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see the 3 areas we had pointed out. Now, initially, the price was within this particular area. You can see the price actually ended up giving us the pullback coming in. We wanted to see what happened within this first area. You can see the buyers just managed to break this area to the upside. And once the price was actually holding above, there was no selling opportunity just yet. We wanted to see what ended up happening at the top right there. And you can see the price didn't manage to get towards that area. And this was just after the New York Stock Exchange opened. And you can see the price really did end up coming down quite nicely during the London session. And similar situation, you can see the same level where the price did break this area to the downside and hold below, and it started moving during the Asian session. So unfortunately, even though the price has come down, this is a pair that could potentially give us issues. We did have some British pound fundamentals that did come out positive, but we'll wait to see what ends up happening on these pairs. Now, moving on to the next and last pair we did have for review was the Australian dollar against the US dollar. It seems that the Australian dollar pairs really did give a pullback all the way to the extreme areas. Can see where with the price was yesterday, wanted to look for a buying opportunity. Unfortunately, if I can just see if I have what we had thought about yesterday. So wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to end up giving us a pullback in this area, whether or not the buyers were actually going to hold. You can see the price just managed to continue coming down, showing us evidence it was actually holding below. And you can see the time that was at 4 o'clock. You can see the market did manage to continue coming down lower, but the price was back within this main buyers area at around 5:30, the New York Stock Exchange opened. And you can see the market did start moving to the upside and continuing to move up as well during the Asian session. But unfortunately for us, this is a pair that could potentially give us issues. We might find this market actually just ranging between these two levels. So unfortunately, this is a pair that's off our watch list for today. So that's it for all the pairs for review. So before we do jump on to today's pairs, we'll have a look at a few screenshots. Not necessarily get that many, but we're still happy to see the screenshots coming in. So first off, we'll start off here with Bravin. Bravin, you did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on silver. We can see the price going up in your favor. Stop loss is still below your entry, but I do know you ended up managing your trade as it did approach these problem areas. So very, very good job on this trade, Bravin. We know you're a veteran of silver, so keep up the great work that you're doing. So also next, we did get James Riguna. You did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity on the euro against the New Zealand dollar. This is the pair that we just had a look at, where you did manage to grab a very nice sell. It seems that the market did end up taking off during the US session, but I do end up hoping you also managed some of your trade, but happy to see your stop loss is already below your entry. So very, very good job on this trade, James, and keep up the amazing work that you're doing. So remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. They should be our contact details in the description box of this video. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with the pairs on one side and mix and match them with the pairs on the other. So in this situation, we'll start off with the Canadian dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side, do the same thing with the Australian dollar, the British pound, then the US dollar, before we do have a look at the NDC. So starting off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now on this pair, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. So even we did end up having this pair yesterday to look for the buys, and you can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. Now, during the London market open, the price looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside. And you can see this is something that we keep on pointing out, where if you do end up getting the price actually breaking a level to the upside, for example, like this this ends up being your next problem area. So the fact that even if the price came down and you managed to grab a buy, you should manage your trade within that area. There's never really a guarantee that the price is actually going to pass that area. And you can see that's exactly what happened. That level did end up holding, and the price did manage to continue coming down lower. It was just after the New York Stock Exchange opened where the price managed to get towards the buyer's area and did give us a buying opportunity to take the price up higher. So today, buyers here is still going to be looking for these buying opportunities. The levels will pretty much remain the same because you can see they're still being respected. This seller's area right there at the top, you can see they're still holding the market. We do have the buyer's area right here. The fact is we know they're definitely here based on how they reacted within this particular location. And we know the main buyers are all the way right here. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, whether or not we'll end up getting a pullback coming in within this support resistance area for us to look for a buying opportunity. But one thing to take note of, if this buyer was not able necessarily to take it up higher, and you do see the price coming down a bit lower than this, there's a possibility we could be coming back down to this blue support and resistance area before we do end up seeing the buying opportunity. So do take note of that on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have, here we have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. And here our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. Still is the same situation today to look for buys. It seems that the yen pairs really did come down quite aggressive, especially during the US market open. So you can see the price managed to hold above within this area, but it wasn't necessarily very convincing. The price did manage to come back down towards the buyer's area, and we can see the price still did manage to get all the way, or at least close towards the top area right there. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for those buying opportunities, still focusing on the same areas. So aggressive buyers area right there. Remember, as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. So right now, we're back within a support and resistance area. Definitely, very many people must be jumping in on selling opportunities now. Everyone is just looking at this one candle. But don't be incited. Remember, this level hasn't been confirmed by broken. You can see the price managed to get all the way even towards this same price, or at least where price is at right now, and was still able to go to the upside. So if you do see the price coming back in and holding above, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity. But if the price holds below, let's wait to see what kind of reaction we get within this red support and resistance area to see if we can grab those buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, here we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. And yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So unfortunately, we do not necessarily get the pullback coming in, but we did get the price reaching this area to the downside, confirming it was holding below. And you can see at 11, the price did manage to start taking off to the downside. Now, it did end up giving us another opportunity if you did end up missing that trade right there, because you can see later on, we did end up getting a pullback. And if you realize at 4 and 5:30, that's when the market actually started to push through the downside. So this was mainly because of the US big boys actually pushing the market down lower. So do take note of the times. Remember that's 11, 4, and 5:30. Those are the best times to actually look for nice trading opportunities. So today, bias is still going to be looking for sell, but you can see right now where we are, we're so close towards this buyer's area. It is not a good place to look for your selling opportunities. So what we hope to see is maybe getting some sort of pullback, coming back within this support and resistance area for us to look for some potential selling opportunities, or we will be waiting to see how the price actually breaks this area to the downside. And if we see the price holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities there. Similar situation to what exactly happened yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening, whether or not the buyers are actually going to give us a pullback or the sellers are actually going to continue taking this price down low. So hope that is clear on the euro against the Canadian dollar. As we move on to the next and last Canadian dollar pair we do have. So right here we have the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, these are brand new entry on our watch list, and here our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now, we have identified three major areas, but it seems that the New Zealand dollar pairs are really showing us a lot of weakness. And similar situation, the Canadian dollar pairs are also showing us a lot of strength. So right now, we can see the price is looking as if it's attempting to break this area to the downside. Remember, I've said attempting. It's not necessarily confirmed yet. The only way we'll confirm is if we do find the price actually holding below. And if you do see it there within one of the market opening times, you could definitely end up looking for a selling opportunity. But if you do manage to grab that sell, remember, as I pointed out in the last example, watch out for this particular buyer's aim. The fact that they've reacted from here before, they could still react again. And you could find something similar where the price actually starts giving us more of a pullback. After that, before the market actually continues going down lower. Because right now, it's very obvious to everyone that it's a sell. And remember, in order for us to sell, we need buyers to actually come in. So we could end up getting some incitement here. Late sellers start jumping in on their sells, and then we could end up finding the price approaching this main support and resistance area. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But this one, do take note, as the price ends up holding below, there could be a nice selling opportunity available here. So hope that is clear on all the Canadian dollar pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Canadian dollar pair with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the Australian dollar and do the same thing. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, we had this kind of pair yesterday, and our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Now, the areas, we have adjusted them slightly. We can see the 3 areas that we had highlighted yesterday. So the price did manage to actually come down. And I remember pointing out there was some support and resistance area. You can see we did have a blue SNR right there. Didn't mention that we were waiting to see what kind of pullback we did end up getting before we were able to look for a buy, but we did mention that there was definitely a problem area there. It seems the big boys decided to actually push the price down lower all the way from the London session, coming all the way down towards the main buyer's area. You can see the reaction that did end up coming in, not necessarily very convincing, but we are respecting certain levels, especially on higher time frames. So especially if I go to a larger time frame, you can see we do seem to be respecting these 3 major levels. So overall, we're definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities on this pair. So still focusing on these 3 levels, so aggressive buyers area right there. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see right now the price does look as if it's breaching and holding above within this area. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. Ideally, if we do end up managing to get some sort of big boys showing up right here, then we could definitely end up looking for some buying opportunities, making sure to manage your trade within this problem area right here. Only once we do get the price breaching and holding above this area. So let's say if we do end up getting the price coming in here, we do get the price breaching and holding above this area, we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities, potentially to the area that we did end up having yesterday, which is around 0.578, if you want to take note of that. So hope that is clear on the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. If we move on to the next Australian dollar pair, right here we have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. It is still the same situation today. It seems the same correlation coming in with all these Australian dollar pairs. During the London session, it looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside. But once 11 came in, you can see the pullback that did come in. Price was holding below. During the US market open, we did get the price actually giving us a pullback. But you can see we did end up getting a nice probe right here, showing us confirmation the price is holding above. There was a potential small buying opportunity, but it doesn't seem that the buyers are really coming in that strong. Maybe we might need a better price coming in. So overall, we'll still be respecting the same areas that we were looking at yesterday. You can see right now the way the price has come down quite aggressive. Even though we're within this buyer's area, will not necessarily be the best idea to jump in on buying opportunities, just mainly because how aggressive those sellers are. And remember, this being the Japanese yen, we look at the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, remember it has done something similar. So you can see the correlation coming in with the yen pairs. So do take note of that. If you do see the buyers coming in on one of the yen pairs, then you could potentially look for buying opportunities on the other yen pairs as well. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against the yen as we move on to the next Australian dollar pair. Here we have the euro against the Australian dollar. And yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today. We can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. Wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting the pullback coming in at that point in time. It seems that the London big boys first wanted to bring the price down lower. Price was holding within this buyer's area, and we did end up getting a pullback coming in. Fortunately, could not get all the way to the top right there. It seems that it found some seller's area right here where the market did end up starting to push to the downside. If you do take note of the time, that was at 5:30 where the price was within an area where the sellers, and you can see the price did manage to continue coming down, especially a lot more during the Asian session. But remember, that's no surprise because here we're dealing with the Australian dollar pairs. And the Australian dollar pairs are definitely way more active during the Asian session. So that's the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Japanese yen, mainly because those economies are weak at that point in time. So today, bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. But if you realize right now we're so close towards this particular buyer's area, it's not a good place to look for your selling opportunities. So let's hope to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback coming in for us to look for those selling opportunities there. But if not, we could end up getting the price actually breaking this area to the downside. If we do end up seeing that and we do get the price holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities at that point in time. So do wait to see what ends up happening, how the price actually ends up coming down. If we do end up getting that coming in, you do end up at least having a game plan and you're not surprised in what ends up happening. So I know most people have one particular idea of what they're looking to do to trade, but if you have a criteria of if this happens, then you'll do this, and if something else happens, then you'll do this, you're always prepared. So it's nothing that happens on the charts is ever a surprise. So moving on, let's move on to the next and last Australian dollar pair we do have is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar, brand new entry in our watch list. And here our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the Australian dollar pairs are really showing a lot of strength. Similar situation with the New Zealand dollar showing a lot of weakness. So today we're definitely going to be looking for those buying opportunities. But for right now, we don't necessarily know if this is a proper breach. We'll wait to see what ends up happening. But for us, at least let me say for me, I'll definitely be waiting to see whether or not we could end up getting those pullbacks coming in to end up actually looking for those buying opportunities. Remember, I did end up explaining this yesterday that most people understand the market goes in higher highs and higher lows, but we do not want to start jumping in on buying opportunities there. The best place to look for your buyers is on the higher lows. So right now, as you can see, the market has been making its higher highs and higher lows. Right now, it's at the highest point. Let's see if we can end up getting that pullback for us to look for our buying opportunity to take it up higher. So hope that is clear, at least on the game plan of what we're looking at doing on the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. If it does continue going to the upside, that's fine. Ideally, we can potentially look for a buying opportunity. Personally, I don't think us in the Afriforex team will be looking for that. We will. The best thing we will always wait for is a pullback to come in. So hope that is clear on all the Australian dollar pairs. So we mix and match the Australian dollar pairs with the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the British pound pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off here with the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, we did end up having, sorry, apologies. So this is a brand new entry on our watch list. So today, our bias here on the British pound against Swiss franc is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So even though the price has been coming down, we will still be looking for buys as long as we're respecting and holding between these particular levels right here. So aggressive buyers area right there, meaning if the price breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area, we will no longer be looking for any buying opportunities on this. And that doesn't mean that we'll now start looking for selling opportunities. Most people think if it's not a buy, it's a sell. That's not what it is. Ideally, we'll wait to see. If the price ends up going down, we'll have no reason why we should be looking for sells. So that's the reason why it will fall off our watch list. So right now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. The sellers are still running. Let's see if we can end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal for us to look for a buy, especially if the buyers really come in aggressive. You can be able to wait for that pullback to come in. In similar situation, if the price is able to break and hold above this SNR, you should be able to look for buying opportunities, making sure to target the area all the way at the top. So hope that's clear. The British pound against the Swiss franc. As we move on to the next British pound pair we do have, here we have the British pound against the Japanese yen, brand new entry in our watch list. And our bias today is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have identified 3 areas of interest where the buys could work out from. You can see right now we're within a support and resistance area, where the price is looking as if it's attempting to break this area to the downside. But remember, we do want to see one of 2 things. So if the price ends up holding below, then chances are we could be coming all the way back down within here for us to look for buying opportunities. If not, then you see the price actually coming back in and holding above within this particular area, then we should be able to look for a buying opportunity. Do make sure you manage your trade within the seller's area at the top. But similar situation, you can see you can be able to use the yen pairs, or at least the yen correlation, because you can see the push to the downside that you're seeing here. Remember, we had a look at it on the Australian dollar against the yen, as well as the Canadian dollar against the yen. So you can be able to take note of that and use that correlation to be able to get some nice trading opportunities. So hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on the British pound against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the next British pound pair we do have. So right here, we have the euro against the British pound. So here, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas, look for our potential sells. So we have the aggressive sellers all the way at the top right there. So as long as we're holding below that area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see right now, even though the price has come down, we are getting a pullback coming in now, which is what we want to see. So let's wait to see how these buyers end up coming in. Potentially, we can end up getting them coming in a bit higher, maybe inciting a few more people to start looking for buying opportunities. If we do see the sellers really coming in and the price is within a very nice area of interest, within an area of sellers, within one of the market opening times, then we could end up finding some nice selling opportunities available for us on the euro against the British pound. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. This level doesn't hold. This same game plan, we'll be looking to see if we can end up finding it happening within the red support and resistance area. So moving on to the next and last British pound pair we do have. Here we have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday we did have this kind of pair, but our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Now you can see the three areas that we had pointed out, similar situation to where we're looking at today. But you can see during the London market open, wanted to see what kind of reaction would end up happening. Since the buyers really did come in quite aggressive, and the red support and resistance area was within this particular location. So once the price did end up looking as if it had breached and held to the upside, ideally this pair did fall off our watch list. But today, due to the fact that the British pound and the New Zealand dollar fundamentals have both switched sides, today we can actually start looking for buying opportunities on this. So we'll be focusing on these three areas to look for our potential buys. So right now we're within an area of sellers, so definitely not a good place to look for your buying opportunities just yet. So we need one of two things to happen, either the breach to the upside. So if we do get the price actually breaking this area to the upside, remember we want a strong breach, nothing that comes in very slowly. Ideally, if it's the big boys breaking a level, we really do end up breaking a level. So ideally, if we do end up seeing that and the price actually holds above, we could end up finding a nice buying opportunity there. But there's a potential that this price could actually end up giving us a pullback, coming back within this support and resistance area for us to look for our buying opportunities within this particular location. So wait to see what ends up happening, especially when you look at it on the 1 hour time frame. It does look as if the price has really come up. These sellers are not necessarily reacting much, but there's still a possibility to we have this major support and resistance area. So the price can still pull back down here before we do end up seeing those buying opportunities available for us. So I hope that is clear on the British pound pairs. So you can see mix and match the British pound. So right now we're going to move on to the US dollar pairs and do the same thing before we do have a look at the indices, then gold and silver. So we'll start off with the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias, apologies, we did not have this pair yesterday. So today, this is a brand new entry in our watch list. And today, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we have identified where the bias could potentially work out from. Right now, we're within the area of aggressive bias, which is a good sign. And you can see the price is looking quite nice based on the kind of reaction that we're seeing. The price has looked as if it attempted to break this area to the downside, but you can see these big buyers reacting. So if you do end up seeing the price coming in and it actually holds to the upside, and remember, watch out for the market opening times. So in this situation, it could happen at 10 o'clock, because remember, 10 o'clock is the Frankfurt market open before the London market opens at 11 o'clock. So do take note of that. And if you do see the price holding above, you could end up finding a very nice buying opportunity here. But if the price breaches and holds below this red SNR, then ideally this pair will fall off our watch list and we will not be looking for any buying opportunities here. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. This pair looks quite interesting, so wait to see what happens there. So moving on to the next kinds of pair we do have. Right here, we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen, brand new entry on our watch list, and our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have identified these three areas of interest where the buys could potentially work out from. You can see the same correlation coming in with the yen pairs. And ideally, if you do see the yen coming in with all this strength coming down, then and you might actually find the price breaking and holding below the red SNR, remember this pair will fall off our watch list. But for right now, as the sellers have come down very aggressive, they do need to slow down a bit. So what we'd hope to see is if the price actually starts coming in, shows us that it cannot actually go lower. And if we see signs that the buyers, or at least the sellers, are slowing down and the buyers are actually starting to come in, we could end up finding a nice buying opportunity available for us. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening here. But remember, do use the correlation with the yen pairs. That will definitely help you with your timing for your trades. So moving on to the next pair we do have, here we have the euro against the US dollar, brand new entry in our watch list. And our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we have identified three areas of interest where the sells could potentially work out from. So we know we're looking for sells as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area. The price breaks and holds above that area, this pair will fall off our watch list. But right now, the price has been coming down the whole of yesterday. We are starting to get the pullback coming in, which is definitely what we want to see. So hopefully we can end up getting this price approaching this area, inciting a few more people to start looking for buys before we're able to jump in on the sells. Because right now, I think it's very obvious to everyone that this is going to be for a sell, because everyone is looking at this and how the buyers are coming in. So what you most likely find, and what you see happens a lot, is the price looks as if it's starting to push to the downside. So a lot of late sellers will start jumping in on sells there. Then you'll see the price actually coming back up and doing the whole story right there. So do be patient, wait to see what ends up happening, and do use the market opening times. That will give you more clarity on whether or not your trade is actually going to move during that session. So let's see what happens on the euro against the US dollar as we move on to the next and last currency pair we do have, which is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, on this pair, we didn't have it yesterday, and our bias yesterday actually was to look for buying opportunities on this, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. But it seems that the New Zealand dollar, as we had pointed out, really showed a lot of weakness. You can see the price continued coming down, no sign of big boy buyers, neither during the London session as well as during the US session. We did not see any of that. In fact, in this situation, the price breached and looked as if it held below, meaning it did end up falling off our watch list. But today, the bias here is definitely going to be looking for selling opportunities. The New Zealand dollar is showing us a lot of weakness, and we can see that's probably why this price is actually coming down lower right now. So we'll wait to see how the market ends up reacting if this is a true breach. And remember, right now, this is just inciting people to actually start jumping in on trades. Don't start jumping in on your trades now. Remember the market opening time. So you'll find that the market does something like this, then you'll find it at least spiking within this area before it actually comes down. You can also end up finding the market end up doing something like that. So wait to see what ends up happening. For us, I think the best thing to wait for would be the pullback to come in within this support and resistance area to look for the sell. But do need to be careful about that. One area to take note of and watch out for. You can see this is a low that the price has bounced off from. So even though the price looks as if it's coming down and you start jumping in on a sell here, this is an area that would definitely end up giving you issues. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. The price comes down and we do see the price actually holding below, then there's potential for a sell, but do make sure you're managing your trade within these problem areas. So hope that's clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So let's jump on to the next commodities. Then we'll move on to the fundamental. Sorry, let me move on to the indices. Then we'll move on to the precious metals. So here we'll start off with the NAS 100, the NASDAQ. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out yesterday, looking for selling opportunities. The price had been coming up quite a lot during the previous day. We were back within our major sellers area. And if you do take note of the timing, so 11 o'clock, nothing much happened. We did end up getting a small push to the downside. We did get a pullback. If you notice at 4 o'clock, once the US market did open, price was back within an area of sellers, and you can see the real big push that did manage to come to the downside. So the price really did come down lower. It looked as if it was holding below within this particular area, but it seems that it wasn't really enough. You can see even the price was able to come back all the way to the support and resistance area that was reached to the downside. So overall, the bias here today is still going to be looking for selling opportunities based on these three areas. So aggressive sellers area right there at the top. So remember, as long as we're holding below the red SNR, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. If we do get the price breaching and holding above this red support and resistance area, at that point in time, we are purely technical on the NASDAQ, the US 30, as well as the metals. So ideally, we will be switching sides in that situation. So for now, let's wait to see what ends up happening here. What we could end up finding is the price actually breaking this area to the downside. We see it holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities. Also, just take note of certain areas where the price did bounce off from yesterday. It seems that there's some sort of support and resistance area here. So even if you're going to target all the way at the bottom, do take note of such a level right there. So if we don't see, or at least if we see the price holding to the upside, let's see if we can end up getting this price giving us a pullback, maybe within that area, before we're able to look for those selling opportunities coming in. So hope that is clear on what the game plan is on the NASDAQ. So as we move on to the Dow Jones, so another fan favorite of a lot of people. So yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and it is still the same situation today. Similar correlation that came in with the NASDAQ, but unfortunately here, we do not necessarily get the pullback coming in all the way to the major sellers area. You can see it still ended up reacting within an area where there were sellers. So the sellers attempted to react within that area at 11, which you can see at 4 o'clock, that's when we really did get a push to the downside. So unfortunately, we couldn't get that pullback to come in, hold below for us to look for the sell. But you can see, if you did manage to grab your selling opportunity, do make sure you manage your trade within such areas, because you can clearly see you were in on a sell right there. This definitely gave those sellers problems. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll focus on these three areas to look for our potential sells. So same areas as we did have yesterday. Aggressive sellers area right there at the top. So as long as we're holding below that area, bias is to look for sells. If the price breaches and pulls above this red and red support resistance area, then at least at that point in time, we will be able to look for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. So for now, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully we can end up getting the same story that we were hoping to see yesterday, some sort of probe or price action signal for us to look for a selling opportunity. Make sure you manage your trade within this first problem area before, if you do get the price breaching and holding below, then you should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities. But do make sure you manage your trade within this bias area. As you can see, the fact that the bias came in aggressive, you do need to be careful about that, because it does seem we're starting to be in some sort of range. So hope that is clear on the Dow Jones as we move on to silver. So here on silver, yesterday and today, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that we had pointed out, potentially look for those buys. Now, during the London market open, the price actually looked as if it was breaching this area to the downside. So at that point in time, wanted to see whether or not we're going to get the price coming down all the way within this area. But it seems some big boy buyers ended up reacting within this particular area around 3 o'clock, during just 1 hour before the US market did open. Some buyers really did come down quite aggressive. So ideally, we were waiting to get this pullback to come in. I know John was looking for such a trade, but unfortunately was just stopped out since the price managed to end up just getting towards that area before actually continuing to go to the upside. But ideally, we can't cry over spilled milk. Ideally, we will end up looking for another opportunity today. So still focusing on the same levels. Let's wait to see what ends up happening on this pair. So aggressive buyers are all the way down at the bottom. So as long as we're above this area, we will be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, as the price has come up, let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in within this particular area, hopefully getting some sort of global price action signal for us to look for those buying opportunities there. But right now, you can also see we're within an area where sellers have been pushing down from. So there's also the possibility, if you do want to end up maybe scalping on this, waiting for the price to breach and hold above there, which could end up finding the buying opportunities continuing to come up. But if that's the case, watch out, since there's so many problem areas right here. So you can see there's an area of sellers right there, an area of sellers right here that could give you issues before the price ends up being able to get all the way to the top. So just watch out for that. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next and last pair that we do have, which is gold. So fan favorite for most people. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out, potentially look for those buys. Now, when we were discussing this market early in the morning, the price had started coming down lower. And remember, I did point out as the price was coming down, we did have this buyers area here, but it also did point out that we had some buyers area within this location, and we might find it actually reacting within that area. And you can see even the illustration that I had pointed out. So you can see that's exactly what happened, although slightly a bit more difficult, because you can see the price did end up bouncing off that area. It was holding below that particular location. But once we did get the price breaching and holding above, this was just before the US market opened. So unfortunately, it seems that the market started moving a bit earlier yesterday at around 3 o'clock. You can see the prices didn't manage to continue going all the way up during the US session and as well during the Asian session today. So our bias today is still definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities, but we won't be jumping in on our buying opportunities here just yet. Ideally, we'll need one of two things, either a pullback or a really big move and a push through the upside for us to confirm that we'll actually jump in on this buying opportunity. So wait to see what happens here. So either a big push to the upside, something that really shows that the big boys are here. We find the price actually holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. But right now, this does not mean that this level has been reached. You can see the price has been here before. We could easily find the price coming back in, holding below and actually giving us the pullback, coming back within this support and resistance area for us to look for our buying opportunities within this SNR right here in the middle. So I hope that game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on all the pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So now, in terms of fundamentals today, there's not necessarily that much. You can see today, 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 there's meant to be a speech for the Australian dollar during the London session at 11, but that seems to be the only thing happening during the London session. So there's a possibility that the London session could be a bit slow, but do end up expecting a lot more volatility during the US session, especially starting from 4:30. Can see we have some jobless claims as well, some Canadian dollar news, so we will end up expecting a lot of volatility then. So do take note of that. So I guess that is it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Do find value, and I hope you guys have found value in this session. And remember, guys, you will end up helping us out a lot if you do end up dropping us a like on the video and making sure you do subscribe. So once again, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you have an amazing trading day. God bless, happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.